Welcome, ghouls, ghoulettes, and guesties to GonstFM Off Air, the official podcast companion to 66.6 GonstFM, the internet radio station dedicated to the band Ghost and the wider Gonst community. I'm Papa X.
I'm Uncle Ghoul.
And this is the finale of our Masks of the Evil One series, where we are diving into the masks and wardrobe of each Papa and their respective nameless ghouls. We are in the midst of a current era, so while there is stuff to talk about, we may not be able to go as deep as the other eras we've been diving into recently. This is the Skeletá Era, and where we last left off was right before the Right Here, Right Now year of 2024, and it's not that we're glossing over that, because that was a very fun run, but what that gives us is an introduction to the Skeletá Era by way of Papa Emeritus IV becoming Frater Imperator and being given the keys to the ministry by his mom and dad, and that kind of gives us a bit of an extra mask / costume to talk about.
And the movie ends in a beautiful way with the passing of Sister and, Papa IV becoming Frater Imperator. And we see, the post-credit scenes begin, and we see him in this beautiful, I believe it's an Alexander McQueen suit. And it's this beautiful tuxedo with this brooch, pin crucifix, and very similar mask, probably the same sculpt, I believe. But with, a little bit longer hair, maybe a little more gray hair. And it looks to be kind of a thinner silicone, maybe, and a really, really beautiful skin tone. Like, it's really good looking, that same kind of unpainted Papa IV thing. And we're introduced to a new version of the character, Frater Imperator, his new position, and it's a really cool look.
It is, and I love the little lapel area and his crucifix symbol, because the crucifix symbol is like sort of it's like old and new. It's the G from his mitre, but I love how in the way that it's positioned, it is a callback to his roots when he was still a cardinal, because it's kind of built the same way, which that's a design choice that I really enjoyed about that. I was like, okay, that's cool. It's, because Sister always tells him, oh, you'll always be my little cardie. And it's like, yeah, to us as well, you're always going to be our little cardinal, so that was.
And he kind of reverts back costume wise too, right? Because it's kind of reminiscent, well, not at all the same, of some of the black suits he wore in that cycle. There's it's reminiscent of some of his more casual suits, and also just seeing him there like that with, sans the face paint and, the little bit of eye paint. It's kind of a back to, and it sets up that shot beautifully of him standing on the opposite side of where he once stood. It is a different place, but, kind of same position of he's waiting for the next guy in the same position that we first were introduced to when we first saw that first mask and that first costume and everything we talked about, in the past episode. It's kind of a full circle moment, and the costume kind of reflects that as being a full circle, kind of back to a more basic, kind of simple, it's a store-bought, jacket that you can get. A lot of celebrities have been seen wearing it, especially recently. I don't know if you've caught that, but a lot of celebrities on like the red carpets have been wearing that. It's such a slick kind of cardinal look,
Yeah, he's still serving Gunt.
Yes. It looks phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
And he looks a little bit older, a little more mature, even though he isn't,
No.
It just looks, it's nice to see. And that becomes his kind of default look that we see from him. Then probably we'll only see him in, going forward.
That kind of leads us into talking about Papa V Perpetua, because the first shot we get of him is just a silhouette, and obviously we're going to jump into how he looks, because by now, obviously, spoilers, Papa V looks like a fucking Disney princess. But whenever you look at that footage, you see a silhouette. There's almost like a feminine quality to like the wrist and the hand shape with the nails and everything, which, we'll get to as far as like what part of the costuming and all that is. But just upon that, it gave us so many questions where we're like, oh my God, like, what is this new Papa going to look like? What's the suit color going to be? Because at the time we didn't know anything.
No.
And we wound up getting the full reveal, because we talked about like the billboard and everything in our Skeletá album review episode. So if you haven't checked that out, go check that out. It is part of our Road to Skeletá series, and the episode is titled Satanized by Skeletá. So go check that out. But anyway, when we got the reveal in the Satanized video, that was probably one of the best holy shit moments in the history of this band as far as a Papa reveal goes. Because the way they did it looked so fantastic, and the lighting and the shot And it wasn't even just Papa, it was the ghouls as well. So we're going to be getting into Papa V and the Nameless Ghouls, which I guess you could say it's a drastic overhaul if you look at it from the bug ghouls to the ghouls we have now. Yep. And then the Papa is extremely different. So this is kind of a, we're kind of going back and forth from like Cardinal having a massive overhaul to being Papa 4 with the ghouls getting a big upgrade. And now we've kind of, done the opposite where the Papa gets sort of a different look, but sort of familiar. But the ghouls kind of have I guess a classic, like a more classic, dressed down but glamorous kind of feel to it.
There's definitely a lot of changes happening. I mean, because getting into it, right? What's actually, just for the sake of it, I'd like to start with the ghouls. Because you mentioned how they kind of go back to something more classic, because we're back to this kind of more silver devil mask. Not to say they are devil masks per se. I don't, there's no horns. But it's kind of reminiscent of the Melior and Perkel mask. It's really close to the Perkel mask in a lot of ways, right? It's this silver face mask with a crucifix on the eye that's sculpted in to the metal mask, and it's this chrome kind of rusty mask or weathered mask with all skeleton bedazzled bodysuits that are hand painted. And the ghoulettes get wings, and the guys and some of the girls, they all get headdresses or top hats. Pretty simple. And skeleton gloves, right? For some of the video stuff. Well, and that's kind of a new concept in a way. We're kind of going back to, as we mentioned before, like the kind of priest and priestess, or nun, religious figures. The ghouls, to me, I mentioned last time that I don't know how much those read like Ghost to me. These read as, if you showed me a photo of this, I'd be like, oh, that's a Nameless Ghoul. It's so iconic. We've come to associate, from 2 cycles from Melior to Perkel, metallic face masks with the mouth cut out. And we get that back. Something we were kind of missing from the last cycle is because they were all black. Right now we're back with these chrome shiny masks. And they're interesting too because this is the first time since Infestissimum that we have non-full head masks for the ghouls. Because they're just, face masks that are strapped on with a 3-strap system, it looks like, and a balaclava underneath. But this is not like a full helmet. This is a true face mask. But, there's something that reads to me so very much of, with the top hats and everything, like an old Victorian priest. And I love that so much.
Right.
And the ghoulettes and some of the, the ghouls having these headdresses. It's just, it reads like satanic clergy people rather than, creatures.
Yeah, and I like that a lot. I like also that we've had, because as of this episode, as we're recording this, some of the ghouls and ghoulettes, like, especially the ghouls themselves, like, I've seen a couple of them interchange from top hat to habit, which I think is really cool because that kind of embodies not necessarily being gender heavy on the ghouls themselves, as they're just meant to be entities. If you're playing along, if you're playing along as like these ghouls are literally like dead ghouls, like they're just there, which I think that's a great look. And also with the costuming, I would have to imagine this is so much easier on the body as far as breathe in,
Mm-hmm. And it's such a simple look, and there's something so classic Halloween about it, but also spooky and elegant with all the bedazzling and the glitter and everything. And it's sparkly, and it's both dark yet elegant. Like there's a dark elegance. It's not just like, you can go glitter and sparkle, and sometimes get to the point where it's like pop star. It's kind of no longer spooky or anything, and it kind of loses. It's just like Barry Manilow. But this is or like Vegas, but this is still very ornate and like spooky looking, Yeah. And also I noticed that all the masks are a little bit different for each ghoul. Like I haven't gone and done a deep dive, like quite honestly, and we'll probably touch upon this in later episodes. I've never been one to focus as much on how the fandom perceives each member as being different and having their different, who they are under the masks and everything. Like I know that, and they're the fan names and stuff, but I couldn't tell you who is who just by their different identifiers. I just never looked into that. I know people have found out, Soto looks like he has more of a mustache on his mask, and there's a mole on Phantom's mask, and one ghoul has a teardrop, and one there's a different little things that are sculpted different, so they're all a little different, and longer feathers on one hat, and different things like that. I haven't done the deep dive to find out like exactly what all those identifiers are that people have found out, especially because they're still changing and stuff. But at the same time, it is a cool little thing. It's like, last time we had, I don't know if we fully mentioned it, but different little horn decals on those Imperigouls. And on these ones, we have little different things from, I think one has fangs sculpted in, and different little things to all of them. And it's really cool to see that those little personal touches are made to those masks too, while they're unique,
Yeah.
as opposed to all being completely uniform, but from a distance, they all look uniform, but if you really look at them, you can find so much.
Absolutely. And I think to your point also about the glam, part of their outfits, how they're bedazzled and they're jeweled and everything. And even Papa, which obviously we'll get to, but
yes,
this really fits the vibe of the Skeletá album, as it were, just because even though Impera still had more of the 80s metal kind of rock feel to it, Skeletá almost feels like an extension of that, but in different ways. Like there's a lot of Kiss.
It's more
and
gritty 80s to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of like Alice Cooper, Kiss, Def Leppard stuff, but it's the harder shit that those bands did. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And like Dokken, I think Dokken might actually be like the band in question if you're just like, Dream Warriors, like from Nightmare on Elm Street 3, that song. That's probably like the best vibe I can give for.
There's also a lot of just like early Alice Cooper, he's back, man behind the mask, right? There's like that types of vibe, the 80s, like Alice Cooper, like when, Kane was on guitar and stuff, and, it was just this like hulking, leather everywhere and sparkles and glitter, that type of thing. But at the same time, there's also a lot of like 70s AOR stuff, but also like proggy sticks, and like there's a lot of sticks on the record for me and stuff like that. And those bands, would often have those, sparkly type of attire to that too. It's like kind of not glam in the way of like, I don't know. I feel like there's like, this is kind of a tangent, but aesthetically, I think there's two different styles of glam. There's the cheesy glam, and there's the glam that was like Judas Priest.
Yes. Yes.
Where it was like, that leather fit and stuff, and it was still badass. But there's also like, how many bad 80s bands that play the festival circuit now, and still wear the like sparkly suits or whatever, or like, I'm a huge Kiss fan. It's like Kiss looked cool for a while, and then the 80s happened, and there was that one period where they really didn't know what they were doing, and they just went to a woman's clothing store and got whatever they could get, and with no worry about how cohesive it was. It's like, it's not that type of 80s gaudy David Lee Roth type of thing, as much as I love David Lee Roth. It's much more of like, like you said, Alice Cooper or like Dokken or any of those types of, cooler 80s metal.
Yeah, and then you were mentioning like some of that stuff. The first thing I think of is like Deep Purple, which again, this is moving right along into my segue, if you will. So hop on this fucking segue with me and ride on over.
Get on.
Yeah, Deep Purple is also the color of our new Papa, which is fucking awesome because the first shot we get of him is probably his most decked out look. It's the big ass mitre. It's the flowing robe where he's got to be on a goddamn like riser because that thing is so long. He legitimately looks like, the meme, she came down in a bubble, Doug. Like,
yes,
that's him. He's
Witch of the East, bro.
Witch of the East wing of the ministry, bro. He's coming down in a bubble, but he looks.
I'm looking at the photo as we're talking. It's wow.
Dude, it's awesome because you see almost the exact same crucifix emblem as Frotzer wears, but this is more like black bling for Papa V. And it's the intricacies of this new crucifix design, again, done by Zbigniew and Bielak, and it's so amazing. The mitre features probably the most intricate version of it with the skeletons like making up this crucifix, and it's just so gaudy.
They're doing things.
They're boning, if you will.
They're boning.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first thing that jumps out to me about this compared to any other robes is it is strange. And I don't mean that in a negative turn at all. It is just a very weird mismatch of Catholic vestments. Where past we've had, it's the same type of thing. We've had a mitre, a chasuble, and like with Copia, he had a cope on top of it when he was Papa. This is like a dress with the center panel returning from the Papa 1, 2, and 3 that was missing on Copias, meaning that there's a center panel of fabric going down with the crucifixes down the center. So that's more classic. But unlike having the Pope collar that most like chasuble collar, it has a clerical collar, which is covered in rhinestones. And then he has like a shoulder cape, I forgot what the actual term is for that. Someone can correct me. On it, like he would wear with a cassock, and that's covered in all types of like almost New Orleans like Mardi Gras looking, it's so sick. And then also 3D, it's not embroidery. It looks like 3D, as you mentioned, the crucifix on the mitre, but all throughout his robes are 3D, basically emblems of that new crucifix. It's something so different about that. It's like the robes are not a chasuble and mitre like we see from a pope. It's almost like closer to a cassock, and it has this like parachute-y thing at the bottom. It's very interesting,
Yeah, and it's cool because there's like a couple of different versions of this actually. So the one that we got initially is okay. So for those of you out there, wanting us to really like kind of like magnify this shit, the first one we get is it's not a flat chrome, but it's just a clean chrome half mask, where you mentioned Mardi Gras earlier. That's one of the first things I thought about this, was that it looks like a Mardi Gras mask, like without the little stick on it or whatever, but it looks great. And that's the one with the 3D, like the big crucifix 3D that's kind of jutting off of the mitre, right? So we have that, and he's got these silver gauntlet gloves with nails and stuff on them. It's imposing. Like, the dude looks royal as hell, but also looks like he would Freddy Krueger the shit out of you if he wanted to, which we'll get to another variant. I don't like, before people say it reminds me of Papa 3. And I don't mean this in the way of like he is Papa 3, because I know some people think that. That's not what I'm saying. It's the same thing of where this bitch is a diva and this is like some fucking, gaudy stuff, but at the same time, it is so imposing and elegant. It's a dark elegancy. When I think of the song Majesty, Infernal Majesty, it's like this, it's just this presence. Right.
And no spoilers. I don't want to spoil the tour for anyone, but there's a moment in the show where he wears these exact robes, and you'll know it when it happens.
Right.
But they're a centerpiece in the show, and there's a reason for that. These are not robes that are designed for him to walk around in. These are robes that have to be a stationary show moment robe, because they are long and they are flowing and they are theatrical.
It is 100% a showstopper robe.
Yeah. But like you said, there's other versions to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I was kind of getting to as far as like the breakdown of it. So like the initial one that we see from the Satanized video where it's revealed, his gloves, it's weird because like the 3D element of the crucifix on this particular design, the gloves almost seem flat. However, when you go to the other design, you can find most of these designs were shot for the Rolling Stone UK magazine. The mitre has more of a material kind of look to it, where the crucifix is just sewn on, and there's some jewels kind of like placed in certain spots. It's actually like a different
I'm pretty sure it's printed
design.
Fabric.
Yeah, that's what I'm
saying. It's screen printed. I think honestly, like in my opinion, and then someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure everything about this is different.
It is.
Like, I don't think any of this is remotely the same.
No.
I've looked at these a lot, and that mitre to me is much more classic. Does that make sense? Like, it's much more the traditional where it's like a fabric patch.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is strange when you think about it, because on this particular one, and you were correct as far as like it being different, because like the little shawl that kind of goes over his back, again, I'm probably using the wrong terminology, but like the shawl cape that's draped over him is different intricacies.
Yeah, and
the gloves, and that's what I was getting at, his mask and his gloves. His mask is pretty much bedazzled in this one, and the gloves, bro, look, this motherfucker is wearing Louboutins, and he went to Tiffany for these fucking gloves, okay? Yep. Like, not legitimate. Like, look, I know, it's a joke, guys. It's a fucking bit.
It's a joke.
It's a joke. But he
we know he didn't actually go to Tiffany's.
Yeah, no shit. But the Louboutins is real. That motherfucker has been walking around in Louboutins, because you can see the red on the bottom
alpha
of the
shoes.
Males. Yeah.
That's the name of them. They're alpha males.
Yeah, and shout out WWE superstar Cody Rhodes for actually being the reason I know what the fuck a Louboutin looks like, because he wears those too. So, Papa 5 is a diva bitch, but the gloves on the bedazzled look are awesome. There's so many jewels and so many, like, to find a good like if you find a good high res photo of them,
I'm looking at one right now.
Yeah, man, they're great. And eventually we will post all these on Instagram. But these are everywhere. Like, this is a new era. These photos, chances are you've seen the photos that we're talking about.
Oh yeah. The one I'm looking right now is the one from probably the Lacrimon video shoot, where he's on, he's got the ghouls around him, and he's wearing, in this case, he's wearing the chrome mask, but he's got those sparkly, and he's wearing this other robe, from that shoot.
Right. And shit, if you want to, we can kind of like jump over to some of that stuff too, because this Papa has like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say it. I would venture to say that this Papa might actually have the most costuming changes.
Yeah, I want to talk about this because there's one thing that's really interesting to me is you mentioned the shawl and everything, but this has no 3D parts to it. These robes, it's almost as if he has one that is intended for wearing on like to walk in and one for more stationary moments. Does that make sense?
Yes.
This one is more of a Victorian-esque, I don't know if that's the right term, but structured dress, if that makes sense. Like it has boning in it and has this kind of, poofy, almost like aristocrat type dress look at the bottom. And the shawl, as you mentioned, still has that center panel going down, but it's different now. And the crucifixes are not 3D. They're a different crucifix and they're flat. And the shawl is different. It's a lot more ornate and it goes all the way down. And those are some of the big changes I've noticed. And then, of course, the purple mitre with this new crucifix and jewels, as you mentioned, and silver bedazzled lines going out all throughout it. It's a little more classic looking. And it's really interesting because this one's a very, this is, I think, the one that everyone immediately said princess dress when it went up.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest draw to the Lacrima video is because the Lacrima video was truly the place that we all got to see this Papa in action, like truly in action. So this kind of, we'll detour slightly to what's under the mask because for this cycle, as we've mentioned, it is a half mask. So we're getting unblocked, full release vocals, live for the first time. But we're also seeing how's this going to operate with a half mask? Well, there's a little bit like the paint job that he's got underneath is kind of cool because it's all black and then he's got the strip of white or in some looks a grayish silver kind of look with the black lipstick.
Yep.
And the lipstick has a couple of what looks to be like, vampire fangs.
Fangs? Yeah, like fangs that go up. Yeah. And it lines up with the, corners or the, of his mouth. Or not corners, but the, what's the word for that? The points of like your electric
the purse of his lips. Yeah.
Yes, the purse of his lips. And it comes down. And that's actually interesting to talk about as we brought that up is it changed. When we see it in the Satanized video, it is a very square, like rectangle of that whitish silver. It's very much almost exactly to Papa 3. It's this very angular, rectangular thing. But by the time we see him on tour, especially, and I want to say in the Lacrima video and then the Rolling Stones shoot, he's rounded the shape off much more to kind of go from his upper lip into the crease of his lip, the corner of his lip, and then back out again to kind of follow the contours of his face a little bit more as opposed to being much more square. Probably to look less like Papa 3 and a little more of its own thing because it's a very similar face paint design to that really similar, simple geometric shapes. But it's very interesting to see that evolution there and to wonder why he did that, maybe. By the Rolling Stone shoot, it has changed from being so square to rounding off of the chin, especially.
But then he has a couple of other looks that I thought were interesting too. Like we'll come back to the Lacrima video. I just want to touch on this before I forget. A different look from the Rolling Stone magazine shoot is actually the look that he has when the Skeletor name and poster for the tour was revealed, where it's the Papa coming out of the swampy looking water. It's very Goosebumps reminiscent, where he's got the weird, like, it's kind of like a fucked up top hat. Like it reminds me of like a bayou. Like, I'm from Louisiana. I know this shit when I see it. Okay. Like he's in another, Sir Tom Baker jacket. It's silver to match for these colors, but he's got these claws and these are in the Lacrima video too. Is why I'm getting there. It's these claws and they're super huge. This is like the most Freddy Krueger look I've seen, but it's like a
Freddy
swamp
Krueger,
monster.
It's so sick. The whole look, you mentioned that top hat. To me, it's like going with that kind of Louisiana thing. It reminds me of the Haunted Mansion from Disney.
Yeah.
In the Hotbox Ghost, or like the Hitchhiking Ghost with that top hat. It's that kind of like messed up top hat, but that's a ride to take place. It's supposed to take place in New Orleans, so it's that same kind of bayou type of old school flair to that. And it's so cool. It's something about that I love so much. That's another one of my autistic hyperfixations is Haunted Mansion. So it's like I love seeing that. It's like, oh, that's something else I can relate it to. But that might be one of my favorite looks that he has. It's just something is so vampire-ish, it's
it's 100% like my favorite look, like with the claws, the hat, and the mask. There's something also like a little bit magician about it, like a magic hat and things like that. It just looks cool, man. Like, if you saw this person, and this is just me again, like going into like an old like building in New Orleans on like, in downtown in the French Quarter, like you see this guy at the door and you look at him and he looks like he's got some fucking stories to tell you, man. Like he's like, come to me, I tell you a story, just like that kind of like, it's classic. It's classic.
It's very Universal Monsters too, is something that jumped out to me when I saw there's the Rolling Stone UK released this video of him and he's filming, doing all the photo shoots and stuff. And at the end, he kind of stumbles towards the camera.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
he kind of stumbles, and there's someone made a GIF of it, and it's I love it so much because there's something Universal Monsters about that. Or just old school horror film of just like this creature who doesn't quite know how to use his hands and doesn't quite know how to, interact in the real world. And it's just this creature who's just kind of stumbling towards and just kind of like in the dark. And it's just something so, like they say in the Lacrima video, like it's old school horror, like in the middle of the night, this creature is here, and it's going to feed on you. It's like, it's such a creepy way to be introduced to a new Papa. And it's like, oh yeah, that if you could imagine, after looking at Papa 1, like a younger version, you kind of would imagine this. I don't mean like a younger version of Papa 1, but like a younger version of Papa. This is how I imagine it. It's just this creature like, vampire figure who is just very, dapper, but like you would see in the French Quarter. You'd see him outside of Muriel's at night and just walking around or something, or like someone you see in Salem, Mass, like where I'm from. Just it's one of those guys who's been there a long time. Maybe he's been in the industry for a bit, done some stuff, and is still hanging around. And he's got some stories to tell you. He's seen some shit.
I was literally about to say that. I've seen some shit, brother.
Seen shit that'll turn you white. Yeah. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, me too. Because it goes from that, like, I know we're referencing the Lacrima video a lot, but it's really where you get to see a lot of this in action.
Yeah.
So, we mentioned like, oh, it looks like a vampire. It looks like, this type of person. Well, dude, it goes right to that real sparkly mask again, but he's got bat wings. And even under the bat wings is a whole different type of top where it's like a bat top.
I love this. And I love this jacket. He wears this on tour without the wings, unfortunately. Understandably why, because they're huge.
Yeah, they're fucking
like they
big.
Go far over his hands. You could not hold a microphone with those. But they're so cool. And this outfit it's this black fabric type, as opposed to like a leather or like a polyester. I don't know. It's like a suede, or some type of, big fitting jacket with these bedazzled, it almost looks like a bat or cobweb design on it.
Yeah.
And when he has his arms down, it looks like even when he's not wearing the wings on it, it looks like he has wings.
That's what I was kind of getting in my head was like how Batman would stand with his cloak like closed over his bat emblem and everything where he stands there, and it just looks like he's draped in just darkness,
Yeah. And he's got this full harness, and there's something about it has this collar to it too. That's very kind of like almost Jack Skellington or like Dracula. It's a very classic horror, spooky. That's the thing, like while he does have Sir Tom Baker jackets and everything, his more casual suits and other fits are more kind of sparse this time, and going back to a much more kind of classic Ghost feel, I feel, to me, to where it's not overly gaudy as much as it's just kind of dark gothic horror and simpleness to them. He's always wearing a neck, like a neck gaiter or something to cover up some of his neck, or like a turtleneck type thing. He's got this, this like, there's a big bat motif for a vampire. It's like Dracula, it's like, the Bram Stoker Dracula film, it reminds me of that, was it 93 or 92? It reminds me, all the different outfits in that. It's like very dapper.
And even just his regular performance suit, because we've seen photos of him live from the Europe tour of Skeletor, and he's got almost this like black leather bat jacket that he starts out with. And this is kind of what I want to get into, like since we've touched on like the bat wings and the top hat look and his pretty princess outfits. Let's get into like some of the jacket wear, because there's a few of them on this one, and I like this one.
We're also gonna get to my favorite outfit of all time that he has with the Year Zero one too.
Oh fuck yeah!
The tour happened and GTV happened, and we got so much looks at some of the greatest costumes they've ever had.
Yeah, for me, that's like I know sounds weird because it's like mid-show, like on that tour or whatever. But like, yeah, I want to make sure that like that's for me the grand finale. That's such a fucking great look.
I have to. I'll even say it now to get there, just to kind of tease to it. For me, that is my favorite Papa outfit of all time.
It's great.
I've made my mind up on that. I've seen it enough to where I can say that as my favorite Papa.
Confidently, anyways, yes.
Yep. We'll get to that.
Yeah. So this one is cool. Like he's in a black bat jacket where it's leather-esque and it's all black. Like his button-up shirt is black. The pants are black. The shoes, the wig, literally all of this is just decked out. But what I think is cool is the little neck shawl, the tie that he's got, the clasp for it. It's a spinal cord. Like a lot of people have been like, what is that? I'm like, dude, that's a fucking spinal cord and ribs like wrapped around it. It's it's so small. And it's these little details that I love so much because that man like thinks about the smallest little shit to do on these costumes. And then some are just loud.
Sorry, I hate to totally interrupt, but I just wanted to bring this because we mentioned Sir Tom Baker jackets a minute earlier. I just wanted to like set the record straight. Some people have been confused on this. The "fuck you" patch that he has on there, that's Sir Tom Baker's signature. That's on everything Sir Tom Baker because I saw a lot of people saying he was stealing that from Copia. That's not a Copia thing. That's just something that's on every single Sir Tom Baker product that you can buy. You can buy respiratory mask, everything with it. That's his signature thing. So it'll be on anything he makes. So if you see that, that means he made it.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to like mention that because before I forgot when I did this episode, because I still see on all the time people say like, oh, that's Copia's thing. That's Copia's thing. That's Copia's thing. It's like, no,
that is Sir Tom's.
Sir Tom Baker thing. Yep.
that is a Sir Tom fuck you Baker thing. Which is cool though. I love that because then that's a Sir Tom Baker jacket. He has that jacket, and then obviously he's got his silver one that we've seen, and then from what I'm assuming is Papa V's quote encore jacket is his purple jacket that matches his main color, because Papa 4 had his blue jacket that matched his main color, which was that real royal like blue.
Yep.
But those are like kind of all we've seen those, you know what I'm saying? So it's not really like innovating as far as like, oh, we've seen these jackets. We've seen a million different colors of these jackets and they're fucking awesome. I would love to have one. But I feel like the highlights of Papa V, aside from the princess outfits, obviously the Batwing. The Batwings are always going to be fucking cool. That is so just Tim Burton.
I haven't made it on stage, interestingly. You know, the full wings and everything. And I see why. I know why. I don't think they're very practical for like a live setting, you know?
No.
I could see in a way like maybe a stationary song where he has a microphone, but we're one date down on the US tour and they're still not there. And, I don't see them coming anytime soon. Probably just for the fact that they also look kind of fragile, you know? Like they look like if they got damaged, they'd be very expensive to replace.
I'd be afraid to break them. Like,
what if you take a fall or something on those,
Because he is. Look, I'm waiting for it. I'm just waiting on Papa 5 to bust his fucking ass. If he's anything like his uncle, he'll bust his fucking ass.
Absolutely. It runs in the family. It's an emeritus thing.
It runs in the family for Papa Nil too for different reasons, but
oh yeah, probably runs all the way down.
Yeah, that's right.
Through all their pants.
It's a long way down. Yeah, but Papa 5. I want to talk about there's like some color variations, but I believe it's only for the Skeletá back cover. The back cover of Skeletá featured the first kind of peek into the look that we're about to talk about, which is it's more of a simplified cassock, really. And I use the term simplified very loosely because considering the rest of his wardrobe, it may very well be the most classic looking thing, but the things about this look that are putting it over the top are the miter, and what I'm going to just off the cuff assume and point out is probably mine and Anthony's favorite feature on this is the skeletal hands and the spine and the tail on this thing.
It looks like a face hugger, like a skeletal face hugger,
Yeah.
It's like this outfit, the best way I can describe it is it looks like he crawled out of hell after battling like hellish creatures and one of them is stuck to his back and it's dead. It's like,
Yeah.
but yeah, as you mentioned, it is a Roman cassock with purple lining in this like satiny kind of shiny material. He's got a metallic like chrome clerical collar, and the mitre, as you mentioned, is really interesting because it is this. I call it the non-binary mitre, and the reason I call it the non-binary mitre is because it is a traditional mitre, but it is also a cornet, like a wimple, that a nun would wear. It is literally the like Catholic Church's most masculine, headdress and most feminine combined, and it's really cool. I really dig that, and I would not be shocked if that was intentional for some statement there. But it's a traditional mitre, and then it has this kind of mesh wimple, kind of like Copia had with his cornet in Year Zero. Like the old flying nun type of wear, and it has this. It's like a crucifix mixed with a pentagram.
The way it's laid over the crucifix G from Copia / Papa IV era, that's how it forms. Like,
yes,
the star that it's supposed to make is the G is there, but also the 5-point inverted star is laid on top of it. And like you mentioned before, I really enjoy how this seems to combine to look like both V and Cardi's look together.
Yep.
As if to say, this was my brother's thing, and I'm fucking carrying it forward.
It really plays back to how he looked as Cardinal. We didn't see him really. When he was in Year Zero before, it was a robe of some sorts, but it wasn't a cassock. We haven't seen a cassock since we saw Cardinal Copia. This is really cool, but it's also really cool because speaking in terms of like political times and religious times, it's a pretty much exact copy of what the current Pope wears and what popes have worn for a while recently. Is you don't really see, if you think of the Catholic Church, other than ceremonies, you don't really see the chasuble and mitre. Most time you see the Pope, you're going to be seeing him wearing a cassock like this, a Roman cassock. Most time you see the Pope at any time, or the Pope is portrayed in media even now, he's going to be drawn wearing that. That's become the Catholic Church's kind of more traditional vestment for the Pope, has been a cassock. So it's kind of even more, I don't want to say just blasphemous, but like, timely that he's wearing, the exact same thing, just in black, pretty much, as that the current Pope is wearing while proceeding over the Catholic Church. When they were sworn in around the same time, we got a new Pope of the Catholic Church just a few weeks after a new Papa. And they're wearing something very similar. That's kind of a cool thing to me. And this is just such an evil, imposing look. It takes up all the space on the stage, and seeing the shots and some of the video footage from GTV and stuff of the fire and, the fires of hell in this big stained glass, and, Papa in this cassock and, the robes and everything. It's just, it's phenomenal. It gives Papa 2 vibes to me of like that imposing energy.
Yeah, and I think the coolest part about Papa 5 is he's kind of giving that element again of, he's got spooky vibes, but I mean, he's royal as hell, right? Like, he's sitting there and like, my costumes are so fantastic, and that kind of does the talking. And I get that, like, when people think of like Papa 4, the Papa that came before him, they think, oh, he's kind of goofy. I don't think Papa 5 is like necessarily, like, I'm sure he's going to be goofy like his brother, but also he gives that evil, imposing look that I feel like we were missing with most of Papa 4's run. You know what I mean?
It's the balance, because like, speaking character wise, from what I've heard and what I've seen, and from talking to people at the shows and everything, and it is much more almost like Papa 3, where it's this kind of reserved. There's jokes, there's funniness, there's you even see it in GTV where he makes a joke about there's always a but. It's that same type of humor, but he's not constantly talking and joking and, making silly noises and silly poses and things. It's much more kind of creature energy, as we've said before, and it shows in there's that balance there. The humor works really well because he looks creepy as fuck.
Papa 5 is a cryptid confirmed.
Yes. Yeah. It feels like it's, it is funny, but at the same time, it feels like it. There's something very old school horror. Like, you'd see him in the woods, wandering with a suitcase, it's like, it's that type of just cryptid energy, or that weird, man, you're not supposed to talk to,
Yeah.
Like, and it's really cool because it brings some of that old school vibe back. And I know some people have been put off by that, but, while at the same time, not losing that humor and that goofiness and that comedy that Ghost had. But I think also part of not seeing him in any chapters or anything so far has helped, because if you just saw Papa 4 on stage, you probably have a different opinion of him than if you saw him in the chapters, and how you perceive him, as he's a lot more silly there. And so I think, that's the case here too, where it's like the less we see of him, there's kind of this mystery around him with the no phones and everything. And, it's cool.
It's definitely by design. I gotta say that that's definitely by design, because if he
I'm
wanted
just going to say this here too. I hope we don't see him in chapters. I know it's a very hot take.
Oh, no, it's not. I was about to say the same fucking thing.
Okay.
Like, that's literally where I was going. I was like, it keeps the mystique of a Papa alive by doing it that way. And
it's so cool to see that again.
Yeah. Here's my thing though. If we do see him, do see him in a chapter, I hope he doesn't talk. It would be fucking hilarious. This gaudy that looks like he's going to be the most diva bitch ever. And he is probably the most diva bitch. He's just not going to say a fucking thing.
No, he doesn't need to.
No, like I said, his outfits do all the talking.
I hope he's the, and I also characterize, I hope he's the, he takes the high road,
Yeah.
Or Copia's all bitter. He's just kind of like, I'm Papa now. He's just kind of, it's like, I'm the one wearing the mitre, I'm the one up there, rocking the congregations every night and, hosting the rituals, it's me.
It's me. It's V.
Yeah.
That would have been another that was almost another pro wrestling reference that I did there. It's me. It's DDV.
Oh, dude.
I mean, look, Diamond Cutter. He has a lot of fucking diamonds on his robe and his mitre and shit. I'm telling you, man, it's a couple wrestling titans. It does work. But anyway, not to sidebar too much. That is so far, because we never know what we're going to see in the next year or so with this guy. That's Papa 5 in about as much of a nutshell as we could put him into.
Great look. We've seen him a couple of times now in really high def and stuff, and a lot of great photos. I mean, shout out Ryan. Ryan Jang is taking some phenomenal photos this tour, as always. There's some beautiful shots. Every night I look forward to seeing just the shots that come out and, what's captured of these costumes and these looks and this new era. It feels brand new, but also so classically Ghost. The ghouls look great. Papa looks great. There's that one photo shot of him where he's on top of, that goose type platform or Phoenix, and, the ghouls are surrounding him. It's just something so classic Ghost, but at the same time brand new about it that I love. It's beautiful.
I do too. And if you're wondering what art Anthony is talking about, it is 100% the artwork on this episode. So one of the artwork pieces, because typically we do different kind of art pieces. So if you're listening to this on Apple Podcast or Spotify and you're looking at the episode art, you'll see it's the shot of Papa and the ghouls at the podium in purple, because there's two shots of it. There's one in red and one in purple. But if you're looking at the artwork on our YouTube episode, you'll see it's Papa in his pretty princess robe sitting in a throne surrounded by the ghouls in a throne with a red smoky background. Like we said, there are so many great looks to this era that I think we're going to get so much more. Like how can you be this bougie and not have a whole ass other thing for 2026? Like Papa 5 is the guy that he reminds me of the Papa that's like, this wardrobe is so fucking last year. I need new shit.
Gotta keep impressing the masses, How else will I spread the good word of Satan to the kids if I'm not, sparkling all over their screens?
Right. If he's not dressed in his bloody Sunday best.
Like a vampire would.
That's right.
But yeah, it's phenomenal. This is a phenomenal looking Papa and era and everything, and it's so good. I can't speak enough things. I can't wait to see it in person. In time of recording this, about a week from today.
Yeah.
So it'll be really exciting.
Yeah, and I will be at the Houston, Texas ritual, which is the last stop in the continental United States, and I believe we will be doing and I'm assuming this is literally off the cuff because we haven't really actually talked about this, but I'm assuming we will be doing a full-blown Skeletor review episode, which would be
absolutely
fun.
Yep.
So look out for that.
Look out for that.
Yeah. So right now, before we get out of here, like that's what we're going to say is like, this is the last episode of the Masks of the Evil Ones series. We actually have a brand new series that we will be returning with. So that will be coming out in a few weeks, just because like we typically will do these episode runs and then we'll take some time off and come back. We have some other stuff in the works that we'll announce on our socials in due time. But for sure, what we can tell you right now is that the next series that we will be introducing will be called Witch Images, and Witch Images is a series in which Anthony and I will take a look at each and every music video that Ghost has done in chronological order, starting from their Infestissimum album onwards. And that'll be a lot of fun because that's something different I actually haven't gotten to do with anybody, is just break a music video down and talk about it. It's so cool because there's so many treatments that they've done over the years and so many different concepts and costumes and
homages to film and so much that we can talk about. It's going to be really fun, and you might really learn some stuff from that too. So it'll be great.
Absolutely. And speaking of looks and costumes and things like that, Anthony runs a particular Facebook group dedicated to cosplay in the Ghost fandom.
I do, Ghost Cosplay. We have a really great team over there of really talented costume makers and mask makers and everything. And, you know, we have a lot of members in there now who are posting every day, you know, their ritual fits or things they're working on for cosplayers, whatever. If there's a Ghost cosplayer you've seen in the community, chances are they're probably in that group, and they're here to help you. So if you want to get into it, you want to learn about the costumes, you want to buy costumes, you want to, you know, make them, whatever it is, you want to, you know, learn where do you get this, where do you buy this is the place to come. So if whether you're, you know, just wondering what face paint should I buy, or you want to know where can I get an entire replica Papa 4 robe, you know, with all the crucifixes and jewels and everything, this is the place to go. Everything from that to, you know, where do you get the new jackets, the new everything, the new mask, who's making the new masks, all that you can find out there. So this will hopefully be eventually, as we keep building and growing, the one-stop destination for Ghost cosplay. So come check us out.
And if you like all the silly, stupid shit that we do here on GonstFM, and if you follow us on our social media platform at GonstFM on Instagram, you'll see like a plethora of memes that come from my stupid fucking brain like every other day. So if you like that type of content and you want to also talk about some of the stuff that Anthony and I discussed here on the podcast, you can join the official GonstFM Facebook group, GonstFam, and you can find that in our show notes below, as well as links to Ghost Cosplay on Facebook. So you get the best of all worlds here on GonstFM. You can do cosplay and you can shitpost. It's a fucking great time. For past, present, and future episodes of GonstFM Off Air, you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. You can leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. You can leave us a rating and leave comments on individual episodes on Spotify. And if you're listening to this episode on our YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to the channel, clicking the bell for notifications for future episodes, leaving a like on this video, or leaving a comment down below. Any engagement helps. If you would like to come to a future GonstFM station head radio ritual, if you'd like to buy GonstFM merchandise, and once again, if you'd like to join the Facebook groups Ghost Cosplay or GonstFam, all of this information can be found in our show notes below. And so, our dearest Gonslings, that brings this week's episode to a close. Some of you we will see in Internet Land, and the rest of you we will see in Ghost Cosplay or in GonstFam. Take care of yourselves, and remember, until next time, in Gonst, we tronst. I'm Papa X.
I'm Uncle Ghoul.
And we'll see you next time.